This is the Venture Smith narrative, Dukandara, in the Looking Glass by Rudolph Young. Venture Smith, Make It Happen. This video was recorded in September 2016, and it was sent to the Middletown, Connecticut to a Venture Smith conference. This is the result of our efforts.
Bring it back up. Let it go. It's okay.
This is the Venture Smith narrative, Dukandara, in the Looking Glass by Rudolph Young. Venture Smith, Make It Happen. This video was recorded in September 2016, and it was sent to Middletown, Connecticut to a Venture Smith conference. This is the result of our efforts.
Turn it off.
Good evening. As you can see, we are not where we said it was going to go when we left the library. We got to the Oakland Center, and it was closed. Nobody showed up. We've been advertising this thing for over a week. We advertised on Facebook, and Facebook assured me that 100,000 people in the circumference around Lincoln had gotten the advertisement. We even put it on the print media, put it on the newspaper. We even had a spot on radio. Yet nobody showed up. This whole series was sponsored by the Coalition of Black Churches. We have been in Stone Mountain, Georgia. We've been in Lithonia, Georgia. We've been in Alexandria, Louisiana. We've been in Middletown, Connecticut. We've been in Hartford, Connecticut. We've been in Stanley, North Carolina at the Brevard Station Museum. We've been in Charlotte. Charlotte is where the AAIG Charlotte is, the African American Genealogical Interest Group. Only thing that I can say is that I hate to say this, but we as African Americans have a big problem. And the problem is that we, every year in February, we have gotten in this habit of this ritual. A ritual is done with not even thinking, not even conscious of what you're doing. It's just like rote. It's just a habit, just something you keep on doing and keep on doing because they have done it before and have done it before. We could call it tradition. And African Americans have gotten into that habit with this black history. The stuff that they present, what they say the so-called black history, that is not black history. Like I told them at the last Black History program they had in Lincoln, I told them that history, Black history is only history when it affects you personally here in Lincoln County and your particular family. If it does not, it is not Black history. Several years ago, I did a series called State and National History According to the Plank Road. Plank Road is one street, a stretch in Lincoln County. And for 4 sessions, I told the church, Gold Hill Baptist Church, I told them how great that community is. It's called Rock Hill Community. It's called Lowesville, but its address is Stanley, North Carolina, 28164. And these are the things that I told them. I explained to them about Booker T. Washington and how he set up the Rosenwald School. And the Rosenwald School on Plank Road is called Rock Hill. I told them about one of my ancestors named Monroe Cato, or Cato Monroe, and how he, born in slavery in 1859, walked off that plantation called the Dellinger Plantation, exactly where Gold Hill Church is built right now. He attended Gold Hill when he was a child, and then he went to Salisbury to high school. And then he went to, after he finished high school, he went to Shaw University Medical School in Raleigh. Now Shaw started a medical school back in 1865 when they came off that plantation. And also, Shaw University was hired by the state of North Carolina to set up North Carolina State A&T University in Durham. Did you catch that? Around 1880 or something like that. But anyway, this young man, whose name was James Elmer Dellinger, graduated from Shaw University Medical School, and he went on to be a doctor. And he was a doctor when the Spanish-American War came about. He served in Cuba during that war. He served in a unit under a man called Fighting Joe Wheeler. Now, Fighting Joe Wheeler was a Confederate general during the Civil War, and the Americans gave him a pardon, and then he was able to serve as a general in the Federal United States Army during the war of, we call it the Spanish-American War, but it's the War of 1898. But there's something about this Joe Wheeler. He was a stone racist. He hanged Union soldiers during the war.
Now, Brother Rudolph, you said A&T was in Durham and that they were the Eagles? What do you mean by that?
It means that Aggie means aggregate. It means that means that Aggies are aggregate people.
Aggregate people.
You know what I mean? You by
Agricultural.
no, not no agriculture people. Arrogant and stubborn and hook nose and all that old kind. You know what I mean by arrogant. I ain't don't mean no agriculture.
Well, it's
And-
North Carolina A&T,
Okay.
Agricultural Technical State University.
Well then, if y'all so great, why did you get Shaw University to establish your school?
Everybody needs help.
You know, Shaw also established Shaw University in 1865. It helped A&T in 1880, and then it also started Shaw University in High Point. Of course, it didn't make it because of a black Confederate and a free black named Daniel Brooks. And he came from he came from Cleveland County and served in the Confederate Army and all that. And if you go to High Point right now, they got something called Daniel Brooks Park and all this. And anyway, he was the mover in the black community in High Point. So when Shaw opened up the campus there, he didn't want them there because they was in Raleigh, and that the main campus was in Raleigh, and he didn't want that. But that's not what I was wanting to talk to you about. The reason I say that about this, I see you caught it on the you caught it on the screen, that didn't you?
I did.
Okay, well, the Venture Smith narrative, that is an example of the Venture Smith narrative. In the Venture Smith narrative, Brotier, Venture Smith's supposed to have said he got down to Ananabo. And Ananabo, he says, Ananabo, no, wait a minute. It is called Ananabo in Africa. That was his words. It was called Ananabo in Africa. But when we started to decode this narrative, we found that he did not go to Ananabo. He led us to believe that he was taken to Ananabo and he was put on a ship, and he met Robinson Montfort, and Robert Montfort gave him his name and all this, and then he was purchased for calico and some wine. I mean some rum, and on this ship. Well, that didn't happen. None of it happened. And the reason it didn't happen is because Brotier was taken to Elmina Castle. That is also that's also on the Gold Coast. And the Elmina Castle was operated by the Dutch. Ananabo was operated by the Fanti tribe. Right near the town of Ananabo is Fort Williams, and Fort Williams is operated by the British.
Now, this is all in Africa.
Yes, all of it in Africa. All of it. In fact, Ananabo is a resort town in Africa right now. You know, and people go there because they want to know their roots and all this kind of stuff, and this sort of stuff. But most of them go to Fort Williams, but a lot of people go to Elmina Castle. Elmina Castle was established in 1486 by a Portuguese guy. His name was Diabo A. Zambuja. That makes sense. And it was started. In other words, he was a a Portuguese, and he went down there and established the town and the castle with exile Portuguese laborers from Portugal. They were Sephardic Jews, because nobody in their right mind would want to go there unless they were forced out of the country, like the Sephardic Jews in Portugal and Spain, the so-called what y'all call them school, the requisition or something, well, anyway, they wanted to get rid of Jews. The Catholics wanted to get rid of Jews, and so these are the people he could get to go. Because they went down there, they went all over the world where the Portuguese and Spanish were, but these particular ones went to the Gold Coast, and they went to Elmina Castle. And the thing about the Elmina Castle is that the Dutch took it over. They had a war with the Portuguese and took it, and when Brotier got there, the Dutch were still there, but then after they left, after he's supposed to have left, the British took it from the Dutch. See, so that is how we know. That's how we know that. You gotta do something.
Not yet.
Oh,
But I did have a question in regards to
okay.
how the Venture Smith narrative relates to what is our most pressing current event at this moment, which is the Me Too movement as it relates to the Supreme Court nominee, Kavanaugh, and Dr.
Well, that's a long, complicated story.
Okay, well, we probably don't have much time, but
Okay, I tell you what, go do what you gotta do, and then you come back, then I can start over new. Get a longer time, that's all.
you were saying, Rudolph?
Well, you was asking me how that got to do with Vincent Smith narrative. Well, let me say, and like I said, it's long and complicated and drawn out. So I thank you if you wouldn't ask any more questions or make any more interruptions, because this is it's very hard to keep all of this in my mind.
I understand, I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay. Let's start from the beginning. The Venture Smith narrative showed up in print in 1798. And it was supposed to have been written by one Venture Smith. The narrative was called The Life and Adventures of Venture, written by Venture Smith and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff, okay? But when we started looking into it, we found right away that Venture Smith was not written by an African named Venture Smith or Brotier. And it wasn't written down by somebody named Elijah Niles. It was written by a European. It was written by a Germanic person, that is either Dutch, German, or Danish or Swedish, something like that. And also, but from Brotier's name, we concluded that it was Dutch, a Dutch colonialist had written the narrative. And the reason how do we make that conclusion is brotier, bro man, broeder. In Dutch, it's spelled B-R-O-E-R. In German, it's Bruder, B-R-U-D-D-E-R. In English, it's brother, B-R-O-T-H-E-R. And then that brotier is a combination of bro, brother, brew, and combination of tier, of deer in Dutch, D-I-E-R, and the German T-I-E-R, both meaning animal. Well, why was this so? Because the people who wrote it was familiar with the Peter Rabbit story, and they were familiar with Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox.
Okay.
Now, Brer Rabbit is spelled B-R-E apostrophe R, Brer. Rabbit is Hase in German, but it didn't work. So, since Tier is animal in German and Dutch and deer, then we conclude that it was Brer Rabbit. Okay? And also in in Dutch, brotier means little brother. That's called, in German, that would be klein Bruder. So we solved that problem. Then it says, Ich war in Dukandara geboren. I was born in Dukandara. Dukandara, right from the beginning, we understood that Dukandara was not a place, nor was it a name of a tribe. Then, what was it? With my vast knowledge of African culture and languages, I concluded that Dukandara was a combination of Swahili words. Now, Swahili is not a language in West Africa. Swahili is a language in East Africa, and it's the same as a foreign language, complete foreign language in West Africa, because in East Africa, Swahili is a combination of the Bantu languages and Arabic. So, now, why would, if an African was writing this what's called, why wouldn't he write that narrative in his own language? And then another thing too, we found that Brotier was actually a prince named Prince Arzuma. I think that's right, Arzuma. Arzuma is a Masi word, Masi name. It means born on Friday. Now, Prince Arzuma was extra blessed because he was a Muslim and he was born on the Muslim holiday. So therefore, his last name was Amir Arzuma Barak. He was born on Friday, the Sabbath, therefore he was blessed. Okay? Now, and then too, no traditional African would give his son a foreign name like Brotier, his firstborn son, especially a Muslim. Now,
I'm listening.
okay,
Interesting.
and then we have this Brotier is supposed to have two brothers. One brother was called Suzaduka. The other brother was named Kundazu. Now, you would not, those are Swahili words also. And Duka and Dukan. Duka means shop, mall. It means marketplace. And then you have the word Duka, which is the root word of Dukan. It means shopkeeper. It means dealer. It means trader. And also, in years past, it meant slave trader. Okay? Now let's get back to the other two. Suzaduka. Who would name their child Fire Sale? Who would name their child a bargain basement prices? Who would name their child going like hotcakes? Because Suza, Duka, means future, and it also means flyer. We will see you at a future sale, at a future time, you know. And then also, Kundazu. That is where we get this diversion from the Swahili, because Kundazu is German. Kundazu. If you separate the kun from the dazu, you got what nice you gonna put in the deal? What you gonna throw in the deal? What you gonna give the boot? That's what it means. And it means to devalue, to sell. To devalue, to sell is the same as playing the dozen in the African American culture. Playing the dozen.
This is September 25th. September 25th. Here to talk a little bit more about what Rudolph Young and I have been discussing at the barbershop, talking about the Venture Smith narrative. Like I was saying before, it was really important to me to understand history for my personal growth. And I understand now that some of the things that Rudolph and I had talked about in the past, now I understand that he came up with some things in the past, but I didn't really believe him, to be honest with you. So I went and looked up some things for myself, come to find out I hate to admit this, and it pains me to admit this, that he was right about a lot of things. I just didn't understand it from that standpoint. But from here, going forward, you know, we're going to try to tackle this thing, and the Venture Smith narrative really seems like, to me, it's starting to come alive. And so I hope we can get to the bottom of it. I think Rudolph is on the right track, but I'm always skeptical by nature, so I hope we can get to the bottom of this thing. Thank you.
Today is September 25th, 2016. My name is Bridget Tinsley. Recently we celebrated the 15th anniversary, or we acknowledged the 15th anniversary of the attack on the U.S. on 9/11. And we took time, it just so happened to coincide with our Youth Sunday, so we took some time to read to them the events of that day, give a little background on it. And then we further made the point that we asked all of our youth who were under 15 to stand up. And the point that we were making is, in their entire lifetime, there's been a 9/11 holiday. There's been something that we commemorate. They don't remember that day because they weren't born. Many of us do remember that day of trying to figure out, was it an accident? What happened? Oh my God, the pilot lost control. And then when you realize it wasn't an accident, you know, what does this mean? What's next? Folks were calling me and asking, was I traveling that day? Am I in the air? Am I somewhere safe or not? We all got in line for gas. It was just a crazy event and a lot of things going on that day. And since then, things have changed dramatically in how we travel, how we let people in and out of this country. You can't take a bottle of water on the airport anymore. They've got people going through scanners and x-rays and all types of things because, you know, what will happen on an airplane, because now that we've got proof and we have a demonstration of that being used as a weapon. My daughter participated in a 9/11 memorial service that day to dedicate a monument near where we live, and I thought it was important for her to do that just so as she gets older and she looks back, she can say, I remember being part of that. They tell us to never forget, because that's an important thing in American history. But there's other important factors in American history that they do want to forget. We don't talk about slavery. We don't talk about civil rights and Jim Crow and some of the other oppressive natures and the way that this country did build itself up. They do want to forget that, but they never want to forget this other terrorist act from people from the outside coming in. So when we want to raise one thing up over another, we just want to make sure we keep a holistic view as to what is really going on and what is the history of this country. Good, bad, or indifferent. You can't move forward if you just totally ignore parts of your past. So with that, I thank you.
How does the Venture Smith narrative relate to Trump world?
Trump world. Here we go, another one. And I won't be able to finish this like the last time because it's too difficult.
I would think so.
Okay. First, Trump world has two aspects, and all three aspects are inherent in Madagascar. Remember, Trump, Brotier was taken by these slave people down to Ananabo, and on the way there, they attacked a village called Madagascar. Now, just like Dukandara, Madagascar is not a name of a place, nor it is the name of a tribe. Madagascar, we found out, was a Dutch word, and Madagascar exists no place else except in the Dutch colonial areas of America, like New York and some parts of Connecticut, Massachusetts. But since then, Madagascar are found in Baltimore. And to put it simple, Madagascar means yellow women. Now, because the Dutch, for some reason, decided that they want to import yellow women into their colony, but they didn't want the yellow women to be of African descent. Now, how else could they be if they're coming from Africa? They're coming from South India. They're coming from America, and they could be Madagascar. For example, Sicilians, Melungeons, Lumbee Indians, all of these people are Madagascar. But one aspect of Madagascar is negrophobia, the fear of being black, fear of blacks. And the Dutch, Madagascar gave rise to the Dutch, Black Dutch. Black Dutch is Dutch people of mixed race. But the thing it is, the Dutchmen frequently married the Madagascar women. Well, then, how did it get in the Vincent Smith narrative? Because that's the only place it's found, and Dukandara is the only place it's found. The Vincent Smith narrative was describing the American attitude towards race. Now, Madagascar with Dukandara gives us a definition. And the definition is Madagascar is attributing or assigning a political, cultural, or social significance to purely a biological function. Well, that's the same definition of racism. Yes, it is, but there's one particular difference. Madagascar started in the 15th century by the Dutch. When the Europeans first came down to Africa, they came down with racism. But the Dutch transformed it to Madagascar, which is a slight difference. There's a slight difference. And the way to tell them apart is the time element. Racism started at the beginning of the time, when God created man. That's when racism started. Madagascar didn't start until, like I said, the 1486 on the Gold Coast. And to show you what we're really talking about is that, let me reinterpret it. Let me reinterpret Dukandara and Madagascar into modern terms. A good example is there was an African. Name was Bro Man. He was an African American. Bro Man. He was living with 3 wives. 3 wives. He was living with 3 wives. That means he has 3 money problems, right? And if he didn't have a good job and all this stuff, he couldn't keep them up. And sooner or later, there's going to be friction in the family. They are going to argue. In this case, the first one he started shacking up with took off. Took the kids with him. Dropped the kids off at a stranger's house and took the other 2 kids and kept on going. That is exactly in the Vincent Smith narrative. That's exactly what happened. Now, in African society, mothers are honored. They are venerated. Now, what African who loves his mother and venerated all this kind of stuff would never call her name? In the Vincent Smith narrative, the Botia's name is never called. They says that she was his father's wife and all this kind of stuff. He doesn't even call her name by her name. Okay, and then 2, I'm at this situation. There are in this society. The British, they make insults by insulting your intelligence. The Germans, they do it by associating you with certain body wastes, excrement, spit, urine. The African Americans do it by insulting your mother. That's the worst thing you could do in Africa, by suggesting that it was not a good mother. That's why the African Americans have 27 ways to say MF. What are we talking about?
27 ways.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. But here's another thing too. On the slave plantation, the yellow woman cost more and more value. The yellow woman lived in the big house. The yellow woman is most likely the mistress to the slave master. The yellow woman got better treatment. The yellow woman was not put in the fields.
The yellow woman was probably also the master's
Daughter or wife.
Thank
you. Oh, you figured that out, huh?
It ain't hard.
Okay. And two, and then there was an intimate. There was a
Intimacy.
no, intimate.
Okay.
There was a kind of friction between the house servants and the field servants, because a lot of the house servants usually were Malagasco, or what we call them mulattoes or something like that, you know that. But these people in the house wouldn't have nothing to do with the slaves out there. Wouldn't have nothing to do on the surface. But what they would do, they would inform the house, the field slaves in the quarter, because the Malagasco, the women did not live in the quarter, in the slave quarter. But they would tell the people out there in the quarter the news with the slave master. They would tell them, hey Jake, the old master's planning on selling you next spring, you know, so you need to head up, you know. I mean, that was a cooperation between, well, they say the house slaves and the field slaves and all that kind of stuff. But they never did mix together as romantic, all that stuff, unless the house slave ended up in the quarter. And that means that she was going to be pursued relentlessly. You see, because supposedly she's of more value, economic value. She has more social value. Okay, now this Madagascar also, like I said, it means Dukandara, like they work together. And you remember we talked one time, we was talking and you asked me how did that fit in with Trump and what's going on in the Congress now,
Yes.
and Nina Hill and all that. That's a Masi saying, and the Masi saying says, at any time or ever a woman is done wrong, it is always because to defend the honor of some sorry man. Now, put Anita Hill in that situation. Put Serena Williams in that situation about that tennis match. Okay? put that, what you say, that woman there, Ford, her name,
Dr. Ford,
Christine something,
Blasey Ford.
or Blasey Ford, put her in that situation. It is always to defend the honor of some sorry man. Clarence Thomas, sorry. Who's that guy that's
Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh,
Brett
sorry.
Kavanaugh, yeah.
In the case of Omarosa, Donald Trump, sorry.
She was smart, she recorded.
Now, so that was determined, and it was in our society many years ago. And regardless of how this thing turns out, that will remain so. And these people saying, oh, it's a win or lose. It's Kavanaugh. He's not. We won't get in on that. Is not the issue. The issue is the Justice Department of the United States have become politicized. That's supposed to not happen in a democratic society. It is not supposed to happen where the president attacks the FBI and attacks the DOD. It's not supposed to happen if the Judicial Committee want to seat this guy to the Supreme Court, because the process says that it is a political process to elect or to seat a Supreme Court justice. But the minute he is seated, he must become completely legal and not political. He should make his decision on the law and precedent, not what Donald Trump did. Took this guy over into the office and told him what to say and what to do and how to fight them for his confirmation. That is a absolute no-no. my guest is gone, and I can say what I really want to say. I mean, because what I'm going to say is hard to explain. In September of 2016, two people from Mount Vernon Church here, and in fact it was Miss Olame Foster and her two daughters, and in association with Mount Calvary Missionary Baptist Church in Vail, we put together a video about African American identity. It was Venture Smith, Make It Happen. It was about African American identity, and we put it on YouTube. You can see it on YouTube now. It's called Venture Smith, Make It Happen. And here's the thing about that. It's been on there for 2 years. There have only been 200 views, which means that nobody's looking at it. And the reason why they are not looking at it is because most Americans, and African Americans in particular, think they know American and African American history, especially African Americans. They think they know everything there is to know about African American history, yet they're always complaining about their history not being taught and all this kind of stuff. Now, when we was putting this thing together, I invited 100,000 Americans to come to this, and I knew they weren't going to show. No, 100,000 going to show up. Not one showed up from the community, and because like I said, I paid some money so that so this meeting here could be advertised on Facebook, and Facebook. You figure it out, because when we started this thing in October of 2016, I went to Middletown, Connecticut, and we did a similar program at Middletown High School, and I would say I went from Vail and went to Middletown High School and got with my nephew, Larry Owens, and we did a program at Middletown High School about African American identity. And what happened was, out of 18 high school girls of color, people of color, did not know their ethnicity. Of course, we told them that skin color was not ethnicity. And we went down the line, each one of them. What is your ethnicity? Every one of them made a reference to color, skin color. I'm black, I'm white, I'm this and that, and my mother's black, and my father's white, and all that. And then I reminded them again that skin color was not ethnicity. And that's when I realized that we, African Americans, have a problem. And then we went on a program on Comcast by the Sweet Potato Society of America, and with I thought her name was Florissa Allen. And we went on that program, and we went on the program with another group, and we talked about Venture Smith and what he, things he had done and this, that, and the other and all that. And it seemed something, on surface, it was just another slave narrative. And and then during that program, I told the host, Clarissa, that she was Native American. Of course, she's obviously black. But then I also, and she said, yes, that is the tradition in our family that we are African American. Because Felicia and I share an aunt in Mary MacArthur Young. And Mary MacArthur Young been telling her family that she was a Native American, And however, when I started doing the family research and everything, I found out that that Mary MacArthur Young, who was married to my Uncle Jesse, ancestors came from Georgia before the Trail of Tears. They fled to Georgia and hid among the Lumbee people in Red Springs, North Carolina, which is in Robertson County. And